cameras are, the whole point of them is to provide public accountability for what happens in police encounters. And so when you restrict access to them, all it does is foment distrust with law enforcement.
New developments in a continuing 2 News investigation after a dogged fight with Springville police for body camera video. It raises questions about police misconduct as a superior officer withheld information from Officer Katie Powell during a traffic stop. Thanks for joining us for 2 News at 6 o'clock. I'm Brian Schnee.
And I'm Heidi Hatch. Glad you're with us. Tonight, new details that the department also withheld evidence that could have exonerated the young man she arrested. Chief investigative reporter Wendy Halloran joins us tonight with the very latest.
Well, Heidi and Brian, I obtained a letter that Powell's attorney sent Springville's legal counsel, where he cites my reporting. I'm digging deeper to show you why this matters and begs the question, was Connor Manfredi wrongfully prosecuted? To be clear, I reached out to Springville City, the mayor, and city council. No one at the city will speak with me about this.
Had that information been disclosed to me with what I had and didn't have, I wouldn't have continued with an investigation because I didn't have impairment the way that we have impairment with other DUIs.
This is a demand letter to the private law firm Springville hired regarding the termination of Officer Katie Powell, triggered by a 2 News investigation. Powell's attorney Jeremy Jones lays out concerns over what we uncovered during our investigation. That Connor Manfredi, the young man she pulled over for speeding and then arrested for DUI involving marijuana, was potentially deprived access to exculpatory evidence that could have exonerated him. At the center of it all, this disclosure Manfredi made to Sergeant Ely.
I had a TBI just like in 2021.
But Ely never told Officer Katie Powell about the traumatic brain injury. She found out 4 days later when she responded to Manfredi's house. She told Sergeant Tusher, who told her to write a supplemental report to disclose exculpatory evidence. In simple terms, evidence that favors the defendant, which could potentially lead to their exoneration or create reasonable doubt in the eyes of a jury. Tusher was supposed to run Ely's failure to tell her up the chain of command, but it went nowhere. Attorney David Raymond.
I'm not a criminal lawyer, but I do understand the Brady implications of the prosecution and the prosecuting authorities being required to turn over exculpatory evidence. And you don't need to be a lawyer to understand why that's important. And were I his lawyer, I would be very concerned.
But Manfredi never had an attorney. In fact, he waived his right to one and accepted the city's plea deal. Powell's attorney further wrote, Springville very questionably handled my client's attempts to advance potentially exculpatory Brady evidence. Evidence that never made its way into the hands of Mr. Manfredi, who was subjected to very real consequences and costs as a result of his criminal prosecution. It also appears that Springville ignored or suppressed Katie's complaint about this interaction, likely for the purposes of avoiding liability to Mr. Manfredi. I asked Springville City Prosecutor Carl Gustafsson, who prosecuted Manfredi, if he was aware of this and if he reviewed the body camera footage before offering him a plea deal to driving with a measurable controlled substance. Prosecutors are required to disclose Brady material. Gustafsson has not responded to multiple requests for comment. Also unclear if Judge Eric Jewell, who sentenced Manfredi to probation instead of jail, treatment and fines, knew anything about this. I contacted the spokesperson for the Utah State Courts. She passed along my email to Judge Eric Jewell, so he is now aware of what transpired. Chief Counsel Josh Estlin with the Utah County Public Defender Association said he intended to circulate the officers involved in this, their names, and put them on the Brady list. Now, that's a list of officers with questionable integrity, dishonesty, and misconduct whose credibility can be impeached on the witness stand. I also contacted the Utah State Bar over the prosecution of Manfredi. They referred me to the Supreme Court's Office of Professional Conduct, which investigates attorney conduct, and the Utah Peace Officer Standards and Training Board, which certifies law enforcement officers in this state. Heidi?
For anyone struggling with high blood sugar, do not drink cold water. Did you know